Tariffs are taxes imposed by a government on imported goods and services. They serve several purposes. 1. Revenue generation. Tariffs can provide a significant source of revenue for governments, especially in countries where other forms of taxation are less developed. 2. Protection of domestic industries. By making imported goods more expensive, tariffs can protect domestic industries from foreign competition. This helps local businesses to grow and maintain employment within the country. 3. Regulation and negotiation. Tariffs can be used as a tool for trade regulation and negotiation. Governments may impose tariffs on certain countries or products to encourage fair trade practices or to retaliate against unfair trade actions. 4. Influence consumer behavior. Tariffs can influence consumer behavior by making foreign goods less attractive due to higher prices. This can shift demand towards domestically produced goods. 5. Balance of trade. Tariffs can help in correcting trade imbalances by reducing the number of imports and encouraging exports. However, tariffs can also have drawbacks, such as increased costs for consumers and potential retaliation from trade partners, leading to trade wars. Understanding the nuanced roles tariffs play is essential for grasping their impact on global economics. In the American example, we are looking at a nation that has long viewed inequitable tariff rates as a way to build up foreign trading partners. This was not a bad idea, after World War II, but it was not done with any overarching plan. Therefore, the present situation is the result of a totally random set of events. As such, there is no way to justify or legitimize or explain why it exists, other than it benefited foreign economies more than it helped the U.S. economy. This might well have made sense at one time, but now it sounds bizarre. There is nothing wrong with tariffs, but they have to be put into context. America is reversing a long trend in which domestic tariffs were low, and taxes were correspondingly high. This would be less harmful if 100% of tax revenues were used to promote the country and its economy, but too much of the nation's taxes have been used to defend and prop up foreign nations. When tariffs are raised preemptively, the nation is in the situation where it still retains a high domestic tax rate to which the impact of tariffs is added. Consequently, prices are sure to rise, and the economy is going to suffer a severe correction. On the other hand, nations that have enjoyed unfair market conditions will be impacted to a greater degree. In an a priorian world, that is one that operates according to logic and deductive reasoning, tariffs would be high on crucial sectors, such as weapon systems, key food items, pharmaceutical and any other items deemed essential. The hope is that an enemy nation could not hold the domestic economy hostage by withholding essential products. If a foreign economy has been used to shipping large quantities of pork to the States at favorable rates and these rates are withdrawn, it may still have to continue shipping pork and paying the tariff until it can make the necessary adjustments, either to its production or its clientele. The seller has to pay the tariffs, destroy the unsaleable product, find new clientele or reduce production down to a level that matches the new market realities. In the short term, the states will enjoy a higher income from tariffs as well as continuing to levy the usual taxes. But over time, domestic production of pork will increase. This means all those income streams associated with the production of pork will remain in the United States and not benefit a foreign nation. The rationale behind lower tariffs, and perhaps higher taxes, is that we can buy shirt for less overseas. This is unfortunately all too obvious when looking at two product lines in a store. The shorts from the overseas sweatshops are dramatically lower than the domestic version. But how would we feel if instead of shirts, we were talking about potable water? What if a foreign nation began selling potable water at 1/10 the cost, we could produce it domestically? What if this foreign supplier put all the domestic suppliers of potable water out of business? Would you feel okay becoming totally dependent on a foreign supplier of potable water? What if this supplier bought little or nothing from you? What if, because you purchased your entire supply of water from this foreign source, you began to have significant increases in unemployment? The problem is we often think of a business as the economic unit when it is the nation. The nation is the business, and anything that reduces the profitability or sustainability of the nation is bad for business. Tariffs rectify this problem in a way that taxes cannot. In the 70s and 80s the American steel industry was largely destroyed. The myth was that American steel workers would find new jobs. Meanwhile the cost of American products was lowered by the cheaper steel purchased from overseas suppliers. However, even were it true, this is not the right focus. The question is, and the question that ought to have been asked, is America's balance of payments improved or worsened? Did America Inc.'s balance sheet improve or not? Globalism is not about benefiting some nebulous planetary entity. Globalism is about a hostile takeover of the national economy by private interests. There is something between mercantilism and globalism, and tariffs can get us there. Tariffs put the accent on the nation and takes it off of the private corporation. Not only did America rely on tariffs during its early expansion, but every developing country also uses tariffs to protect crucial sectors. America assumed it was large enough to forego any protective use of tariffs, which might even be true, but not coupled with a total absence of the most basic of bookkeeping strategies. Too much money was wasted, and too many costs went unaccounted for, to permit the easy access to markets that typified the last 100 years of America. However, the talk on tariffs is far too simplistic. Tariffs are not good or bad, they are just a fee put on imports to create a favorable market for the domestic option. However, tariffs need to be seen as simply a tool in a larger strategy. The objective is to create domestic wealth. We work to make personal wealth, but this also needs to be part of a larger strategy to create wealth for the domestic economy. To determine the wealth of a nation we must be able to measure the wealth of a nation. To do this we must understand what the nation is. The nation is its people. The wealth of a nation is the wealth that the people have access to on a per capita basis. But there is no people, there are only disparate groups. How do we determine the value of the nation? In a capitalist economy there is no clear ownership and no one way to determine what is owned by the nation. There is no clear way to separate liabilities from equity. In a communist country the state owns everything, and since there is no free market it is impossible to get a true sense of what something is worth. Herein is an heretofore unrecognized problem. The nation belongs to God, that is, the planet belongs to God. As a segment of the earth, the physical elements of the nation are God's. Humans create the equity. This is the value added to the physical things of the earth. If we are to establish how much value has been added to a particular part of the planet we need to recognize the sovereignty of God. The church is a people serving God in a particular area. This could be a city or a nation. The physical location belongs to God but is held in proxy by those who serve Him. Therefore, what is important is the value the church adds to what is under their stewardship. Personal ownership is omitted from the calculation. If debt is owed or there are liabilities attached to the asset, the liability portion is omitted. The church is ultimately the equity dedicated to the glory of God. We build cathedrals to His glory. This adds value to the assets belonging to God. When we bind someone to the church we have integrated them into the economic life of the believer. Each new Christian, if they have faith, automatically finds a niche in which he or she is able to add value to the church. Tariffs in this respect protect the crucial parts of the economy, those parts that are essential for national security. After that it is a matter of reducing low-value work to focus on higher-value work. We do not make shirts if we have openings for doctors or machinists. There is a role for international trade, but it has to be tied to the national accounts. The nation, or more properly, the church, must have its balance sheet improved by the lowering of tariffs or the impotence of goods from abroad. High tariffs also ensure that what a foreign entity exports is of high quality and more efficiently produced than the local version. If we place a 60% tariff on sewing machines yet the foreign supplier still finds it profitable to export them, it probably makes sense to shift production away from sewing machines and into another more competitive sector. Tariffs judiciously used can help shift production away from low-value and less competitive areas into more high-value and competitive sectors. What has to always be foremost in our minds is the bottom line. Whatever we choose to do, whether it is to increase tariffs, reduce production in some sectors or increase imports of a certain line of good, the economy as a whole must show a higher level of productivity and value creation. The people must always be made better off by the increase of lowering of tariffs.